Hi, I'm BHF, author of the novel Lithoburn. Before anything else, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You're just seconds away from entering one of the darkest fantasy stories. Before we dive into this chapter, make sure you've seen the previous parts. You probably don't even know why Hister escaped to Earth, or what he's about to go through. Signed, BHF.
Hister was struggling to adjust to his new circumstances, and the body he inhabited still felt foreign. He approached the horse, but it refused to obey, rearing up in fear. Shivering from the cold, Hister seized the reins firmly and held them tight. The horse, though frightened, gradually began to calm. He was afraid night would fall and the city gates might close. Without hesitation, he mounted the horse and galloped toward Athens. He hadn't gone far before the distant thunder of galloping hooves reached his ears. He slowed his horse and waited as the riders approached. As they drew near, he read their minds. They were wealthy Athenians, and they slowed their pace when they saw Hister. Knowing he would need more money and possessions to stay in the city, Hister attacked. With his long claws, he slashed their throats. In the blink of an eye, blood sprayed through the air. One of the three horses, terrified by the corpse on its back, bolted. Hister unloaded the remaining two horses, gathered a large amount of gold and money, stuffed it into his own bag, and continued on his way. Before long, the murmur of distant voices told him he was nearing Athens. Suddenly, he spotted the panicked horse galloping toward the city gates. He knew that if it reached the city carrying a corpse, he wouldn't be able to enter. The guards would inspect the cargo and likely stop any strangers. Suspicion would arise, and he could be arrested for murder. Hister led his horse to a tree and tied it tightly to a branch. Using his teleportation ability, he instantly reached the fleeing horse. He yanked the reins, steering it away from the gates. Then he dragged the body into the nearby bushes, transferred its valuables into his bag, and covered the corpse with leaves and branches. He tied the second horse securely to a tree, making sure it wouldn't wander. Tightening the strap on his now heavy bag of gold and coins, he loaded it onto his own horse and set off once again. The city walls of Athens loomed ahead, tall and imposing. In each tower, 3 guards stood watch. The guards were clearly visible even from a distance. The sun had not yet set when Hister reached the gates. A bustling crowd moved about, and no one paid him any attention. Still, he remained cautious and pulled the hood of his cloak over his head to hide the bag strapped to his horse. He passed through the gates without issue. The city of Athens looked magnificent and full of life. Fluent in most Earth languages, Hister had no trouble communicating. Strange scents filled the air, aromas he had rarely encountered before. He tied his horse to a wooden railing beside a shop. He looked around. Life in a place like this was unfamiliar, but he had no choice but to remain here for a while. People walked past him casually. The face of an old, white-haired man with a long beard was nothing unusual in Athens and drew no attention. He needed to find shelter before nightfall. If you enjoyed the story, like this video and subscribe to our channel. The rest of the story will be released soon.